Hello and welcome to episode 1074 of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Friday, July 8th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, it's been a little while, been on some solo beats, but it's good to have you back. How you doing?
I am here. I'm back. You couldn't get rid of me. You thought I was gone.
Didn't want to. Enjoy the solos, but love having you here to talk things through. And we're going to have a continuation of what I did the other day, which is in just the pitching side of it, which is talking about the key pickups in the main event this year, using the main event as you know the overarching guidepost here. Obviously, these are key pickups across a lot of leagues. Does skew a bit deeper because the main event is 15 teams. But we're talking about these players specifically. It won't just be like if you're in the main event, you'll understand this. First pitcher, we're going to talk about Kyle Wright. He's been important across all leagues. So if you listen to Monday's episode, you know what we're doing here. Let's just get into it, though, because we are working on a little bit of a time crunch. Let's start with one. Now, for most of these, it's like 20 plus leagues where the guys were picked up. But I did make an exception for the preseason bid because first off, the highest guy, the guy who went the most on the April 3rd bid was Dylan Tate, and he only went in 15 leagues because obviously a lot of people weren't making moves. There wasn't a ton of turnover. So Kyle Wright being picked up in 10 leagues was actually a pretty significant move that week, not just obviously because of what he's done, but he was the sixth most rostered guy that week, or added, I should say. So what has he done? Simply a 2.91 ERA, 114 whip, 98 strikeouts in 96 innings with 9 wins. Right now, as we approach the break, is Kyle Wright the pickup of the year, Justin?
I mean, I think he has to be. Even with like the early season, like boon you got from pitchers, where like every pitcher was just lights out because of whatever ball they were using.
Exactly.
They're clearly no longer using. He's just been so dominant. To get a guy that has been able to give you what he's done from the wire. I mean, from the wire in most leagues. I don't know that many people drafted him at all.
And if they did, he was dirt cheap. Kyle Wright was not expensive in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, we were looking for this year's Robbie Ray, right? And this is it, right? And I think the fact that so many people, I'm sure there were people in on him, but the fact so many people just overlooked his name being a former top prospect, I think is just an oversight, right? Like these are the kind of guys I usually like to target, right? A former top guy that people have soured on. And
70 innings of nothingness, 26 years old, pedigree. I mean, you look back at it, it makes a lot of sense on Kyle Wright. Now, there's other instances where this setup happens and the player doesn't come through too. So it's not
look at Tucson on his own team.
Like not berating anybody for not being in on him. But as you look at how this played out for Kyle Wright, it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. And he has just been unbelievably amazing. He's definitely been able to like cover, you could have, I mean, if you picked him up and you have like a Max Scherzer or something, you barely felt losing that. I was able to get him in our league, and it has been pretty huge because pitching was kind of my issue. And then I ended up getting Woodruff hurt. He wasn't doing his best before that. Michael Kopech has been painfully inconsistent. And I mean, Tristan McKenzie's been pretty great most of the season until that one outing against Minnesota, but he bounced back from that too. But my pitching was a little suspect. So Wright has fully stabilized, or not fully because of where my pitching's at, but he's helped stabilize it and really give people like an ace. So the question is, what's the second half look like? Obviously, this is the most innings he's ever pitched in the majors so far, but he's got over 100 innings, like 137 last year at the minors, plus his sixth in the majors, give him 142. There shouldn't really be any innings limits here with Kyle Wright at age 26, right?
I wouldn't think so. And it's not like Atlanta has the depth in the rotation to say, oh, we're going to move you into the bullpen or something like that. I think they're going to, and Atlanta, for winning the World Series, like they didn't make major moves or anything like that. Like they went and got, Soler and Rosario and Jock Peterson, like guys like that weren't like major, major pieces or star pieces at least.
Yeah, they just
Um,
threw a bunch at the wall to kind of replace Acuna last
mhm.
year, and it worked.
Yeah. And so I wouldn't expect them coming off a World Series to be like, oh, we need to go out and get a Castillo or a big rotation piece
They
necessarily.
might, but if they do, it's to replace Ian Anderson, who, by the way,
Yeah.
is also on my team, and I finally cut him. I didn't mention him because he's not on my team anymore. I
Hmm.
cut Ian Anderson, man. I'm tired of it.
I
509, 154. Of course, he throws 5 scoreless or 5 innings, 1 run after I cut him. I don't care. I
when I
don't
when
care.
I saw you cut him, I was like, it was jarring to me at first, and I was like, oh, let
Sure.
me go take a look, and then I was like, oh no, I see exactly why.
Yeah, the name
Um,
is going to have people like, oh, wait, what? And then, yeah, if you guys want him, have fun. Please,
yeah,
please, somebody pick him up. I put him out there as a sleeper cell.
yeah, pass.
Are you sure? You sure I
Yeah,
can't convince you
um,
to put $200 on him? All right, let's move to April 10th. And this guy was picked up in 39 leagues, and he also is in contention for one of the pickups of the year. Yohan Duran has been amazing for Minnesota. Hasn't quite overtaken the closer's role, though. That's why I would still lean toward a Kyle Wright and maybe another closer who we're going to talk about in a handful of players over Duran. But you can't argue with what he's done. And, since being picked up, 212 ERA, 0.82 whip, 5 saves, 34% K rate. I think the fact that it's only 5 saves holds him back a little bit from, like I said, that pickup of the year sort of deal. But he's been one of the best relievers. How much longer do they stick with Emilio Pagan? Like, you know how I feel about Emilio Pagan. I'm always like, he's not going to close. He's a home run machine. They are letting him close a bit, but they're seeing why you shouldn't. He has a 5.34 ERA, 143 whip, and a 2.2 homer 9. So I feel pretty vindicated there that Emilio Pagan shouldn't be closing. So while he does have 9 saves, I'm not sure he should. Does Duran get this job outright at any point in the summer, Justin?
outright, probably not. I think Minnesota is a team that values their best reliever in the most crucial spot in the game, and that's not always going to be the ninth inning. So I think he's going to continue to get saves. But does
It'll be
anybody
a
on this team
byproduct.
get 20? Like, no. Like, I think this is. I think this is one of those really, really frustrating situations, similar to Cincinnati, where there
Well,
isn't going
except that
to
they're
be.
good. Except that Minnesota's
Yes,
actually
yes,
good.
this is true. Like that's the one caveat I get. So it's better than Cincinnati because they are a good team. Nice little 4.5 game lead on the Guardians right now. So yeah, no, I mean, I think it's still gonna be valuable from a fantasy perspective, just not as valuable as he could be if he was the quote unquote guy, because I just don't think there is one.
Yeah, I think that seems to be pretty fair right now with what Minnesota's doing. They have not committed fully to Duran, and as such, I mean, you just ride it out. You're fine. He's your closer too, that you just get your saves from and the excellent ratios and all the stuff. I'm looking here. Pagan, he did get wins in 2 of his last 3 outings. I think those are because he blew the save, though. I think those are blown save wins for Pagan. But damn, man, I don't understand why they continue to go to him. But we'll see. Even if it doesn't happen where you don't get a full
This,
on closer
this
with
is a
Duran,
team that's gonna add someone to. Like this is a
that's
team that
true. They're gonna add to
that
the bullpen without a doubt.
maybe once Ian Kennedy's healthy or um yeah, there and it won't be a major like guy. It won't be like again a quote unquote closer guy. It'll be someone that again can pitch the ninth, but will also pitch like the seventh or eighth.
You don't think there's
Um,
a chance that they add a real closer, like you said, though, to keep Duran in the fireman's role? They could get maybe
they
somebody.
potentially could, but
I
I
guess
think it
I don't
will
know
be like
who.
a Melanson or a Ian Kennedy or like an
Lou
older
Trevino,
an older vet. Lou Trevino is a good one, like an older vet that isn't like
David
um,
Robertson.
David Robertson would be perfect for them.
Yeah, I think David Robertson makes a lot of sense for the Twins. I could definitely see that kind of pickup there, where they add somebody who's closed before and can certainly take over the job from Pagan, while Duran still mixes in and is a great reliever for you. But probably not going to take over and be that guy who's clocking saves left and right. Maybe down the stretch, right? Maybe it's one of those things where calendar turns to September and they're in a tight race and they're like, you know what? We can't even mess with it. We just need this guy in the ninth every time. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not getting rid of him in any capacity anyway. So you just ride it out. By the way, I should have included Tyler Duffy here. They were picked up in the same week, Duran and Duffy. Duffy in 37 leagues. He has a 4.09 ERA, 124 whip, a save, 2 wins, 24% K. Obviously, he's been cut quite a bit since then, but I just put him on to highlight the fact that we didn't know where the Twins bullpen was with 39 and 37 pickups of Duran and Duffy in the April 10th bidding. I don't know what Pagan's roster rate was at that point, but there was a lot of love for the Minnesota bullpen there, and it wasn't even the right guy in terms of the most saves. I mean, he was the right guy in terms of quality. Duran was the number one pickup all week that week, and Duffy was second. Pagan was 16. He went 16 leagues that week. So there was a lot of love for that Minnesota bullpen. I just don't get why Pagan does it. But anyway, let's move on. Let's go back to this bullpen, or excuse me, let's go back to the rotation. April 17th, our first of back-to-back A's, Paul Blackburn was picked up on the 17th. Now, I'm giving you his full stats since then, but he's had some really interesting schedule stuff where I speak from experience. You could have curated something a lot different than these bottom line numbers, but the bottom line numbers are quite good at 304, 120 whip, 5 wins, 18 Ks. You might have even, like I said, finagled it down a bit more if you avoided some of the starts that he had, like the Houston, Boston two-step. I flat out sat him for that. He had 8 earned in 10 2/3. I think he had another one where it was like New York and Seattle, I think.
Yeah, well, see, and
two-step.
yeah, he got murdered in that Seattle one, but I don't know if you would have avoided that. I mean, Seattle had been.
No, I don't think you would have avoided that one. I think it was the following one.
Which it was a Yankee. It was a 5-inning, 3 earned run.
Yeah,
Like, it
the
wasn't
following
bad.
one, the 27th there at the Yankees at Seattle, that was the two-step. And if you avoided that one, you actually lost. He was quite good. Paul Blackburn went to New York, went to Seattle, and put up a 2.38 ERA in 11 1/3. And I did sit him for that one because he was going to New York. So you win some, you lose some. I sat him for 2 2-steps, which I rarely do. And I always talk about how I usually cut guys if I can't use them in a 2-step. I felt I could keep Blackburn. I'm fine with it. And now this is where I'm at now, 1 up, 1 down as far as the 2-step skips. Where's Blackburn go from here, Justin? Does he continue to be a useful arm? Does he continue to be a standout arm? What are your expectations on Blackburn from here forward?
I mean, he's quietly put up like this just unreal season. Like, there's serious regression coming at some point, especially. I assume he's going to be a hot topic at the trade deadline. I mean, he's like 28 years old. I don't think he is part of the A's. Like,
I don't think they'll trade him.
You don't?
Oh. Well, actually, wait a minute. Never mind. I didn't realize he's got actually a lot of. No, I was the reason. Okay, sorry, I'm backpedaling again. I saw now that he had like parts of 6 seasons, but he barely has any service time. Yeah, you think they trade Paul Blackburn even when he's a free agent in 2026? That's a lot of team control. I think Oakland
maybe not
like
yeah.
that. That's a lot of team control there. I know he's 28. He's not like Paul Blackburn is not like their next ace or anything, but they keep these type of guys. They know he's like tailored for their park. I'd be surprised if they traded him. Montas obviously is the hottest ticket out there if he's healthy, but Blackburn, I think Blackburn.
What a bummer for Montas to get hurt right now. Like, this is like, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's anything super serious, and maybe a team just says, we'll take him as is. Maybe a team gets a discount. Like, right? They go.
They just try to say, yeah, hey, we know he's a little nicked. We'll give you a
little bit less for that. But if it definitely feels like there's a chance that Montas could stay on this team the rest of the year. Blackburn, there's definitely regression coming, man. Like, it's just, xERA is 3.64.
Let me tell you this. In his last 7, he's at a 4.35 ERA. Paul Blackburn.
That seems like the guy that Paul Blackburn probably is.
It's kind of what I was hinting at there. I think that's it too. So
the thing is, though, I mean, he puts a lot of balls on the ground. He doesn't allow a ton of hard contact. He's actually not really allowing like he's been a guy in the past who like allows 90% zone contact in order to induce those ground balls, right? He's not doing that this year. Like he's like right around league average in zone contact and still getting the ground balls. And he pitches in one of the best parks in baseball in a
Yep.
fantastic division to pitch. So like, yes, is there regression coming? I do think so, but like I don't think it's like kill your team regression. I think it's
I don't think so
back
either.
to back to like a low fours kind of guy.
Yep.
That gets enough strikeouts. He's going to volume his strikeouts, and swing strike rate's actually a little bit higher than I expected to be, considering how many strikeouts
Yeah,
his strikeout rate. So
it's right around 10%, and it's close
mhm.
for Blackburn to have that 20% K rate, which you kind of want at least the 20%. He's at 19 right now for Blackburn. You like to see him in that low 20s there, if not higher, obviously. But low
Mhm.
20s is a bit more palatable. I think a low fours ERA with hopefully a decent whip. He could still be pretty valuable, even if he's like at a 420, but it comes with like a 120 or better whip, decent case. And if you're spot starting him, you might be able to curate something better than that. So
Yeah.
all Blackburn, pretty interesting. Let's stick with their team. Go to the next week, April 24th, in 38 leagues. By the way, Blackburn was picked up in 46 of the 47 main events on April 17th. On April 24th, 38 of the 47 leagues went after Danny Jimenez, who was filling in for Lou Trevino and actually kept the job for a bit after that. Now is on the IL and actually kind of blew up his numbers. He was looking great, but now he has a 6.11 ERA, 130 whip with 8 saves and an 18% K rate since you picked him up, because he had some really rough outings. In fact, 2/3 of an inning, 4 runs on June 1st, a third of an inning, 3 runs on June 10th. These were both a couple outings before he went on the IL. And yeah, he really tanked his ERA numbers there, and his whip even. And now you wonder if Danny Jimenez will have the job when he comes back, because he wasn't pitching that well when he left, and he kind of took it from Trevino, who was also hurt. Trevino isn't much better. I don't know. I'm throwing my hands up in the air. Obviously, a lot of people probably have cut Jimenez at this point because he's on the IL and he's in a partial role on the worst team in the league. I guess my open question then would be, what's up with Oakland? Like what does the closing situation look like after the trade deadline? Do you think AJ Puck emerges, or somebody else, or nobody, or
I mean, I think
Trevino
Jimenez will
stay?
probably get the job back.
You
I
think
don't
Jimenez
know.
gets it back when he comes back?
It's always hard to tell with them. They're going to go with whoever is effective in the moment. And Jimenez has been effective, and I think they would like a guy like Puck to kind of take that job. But I don't know that he's going to. It looks like when Jimenez went down, Trevino was still kind of shaky. Zach Johnson, had moments, but it looked like they wanted to give it to Puck.
Jackson, but yes.
I'm sorry, Jackson. Sorry. But it looked like they wanted to give it to Puck, and they gave him opportunities. He blew it right away, and they moved very quickly on from him back to Trevino.
Mm-hmm. Trevino has stabilized things a bit. If you look, since he got his first save since returning, it was on June 25th. So it's a small sample. We're talking 5 outings here, but 1 run. I mean, he's still 10 base runners though, so he still has a 2 whip
Mhm.
even in this time with the 4 saves for Trevino, but 6 strikeouts in the 5 innings. So you're still getting a pretty bumpy closer, even if you do get Trevino back in that role.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume they would trade Trevino. I think
They
he's
gotta.
going to be a popular trade target at the deadline. So, I think Jimenez gets an opportunity to close again. He may even get an opportunity before the trade deadline, because I mean he should be back in about 10 days or something like that.
Yeah, he's working his way back from a shoulder strain.
So I think he'll probably be back. My guess is like right after the All-Star break, he comes back. Maybe they give him an opportunity, but I don't know. Like Jimenez is, I think, just another reliever, right? He's a guy who's going to have flashes of greatness, because in a 1-inning stint, anybody with a major league arm can show flashes of greatness. And I think he's going to have frustrating opportunities as well, where he can't find the zone. and walking too many guys or giving up too many hits. So
I
uh,
like that take.
yeah,
I think I agree. I think I agree with that with Danny Jimenez. The Oakland situation's kind of a mess. Obviously, you have to pay attention to all the situations if you're chasing saves, right? So you want to be in on it. If you want to take a spec on somebody, it could be a Zach Jackson, it could be an AJ Puck.
the
But
problem
Jimenez,
is, like, if you're gonna take a dart on a guy who might get saves, do you want it on a team that
that
may not win
sucks.
60 games?
Exactly. No,
Like
that's really the tough part. But counterpoint, sometimes that's all that's available.
that's fair.
Sometimes
Yeah.
everything's turned over for every other guy
Right
that has
now,
some shakiness.
if I'm like desperate for saves, and I am desperate for saves in some leagues, what I'm doing is I'm trying to play Nostradamus and figure out what guys are going to get traded and open up
Mhm.
a new spot. So, like, if I'm, and maybe we should do an episode on this
We
specifically.
will. We will do a trade episode of like holes that are going to be opened and who's going to
Yeah,
fill them type deal.
because
Focus. Yep.
doing it now before the trade deadline, putting a dollar or two on Fab on a guy you think, hey, could be the next man up if this guy gets if the other guy gets moved, I think is can be really, really beneficial. You could find like your second half hero.
I tell you, the guy that I like that I've already picked up, so I'm excited about it, and I hope I'm right. And I know it's another bummer team, but they're not nearly as bad as Oakland. But it's Felix Bautista in Baltimore. Now he blew it.
I saw you picked him up.
He,
Yeah.
he did get his opportunity because Lopez blew 3 straight. So like, okay, we'll give Bautista a save up, and he immediately blows it with a home run to Corey Seager. They eventually won that game in the 10th. But I was like, son of a gun, because I know he's not going to overtake it before Lopez goes. They're not going to tank Lopez's value for the trade market, and they should absolutely trade Lopez. There's
Yeah.
no universe where they should keep him. They found him on the waiver wire. They cultivated him into throwing 100-mile-an-hour sinkers. You trade him and then you go right back to the same shop that you got him, the waiver wire, and find the next one. You do not keep Jorge Lopez. And I'm not saying that just because I have Felix Bautista, but he seems like a good pick to take over the role after Lopez is traded. And like you said, we will go through a bunch of others. But let's continue here. April 24th, same week that Jimenez went, Michael King went in 34 leagues. Remember, he was pitching well basically from the jump, but then started to realize, okay, this guy, even as a middle reliever, he's kind of that next big thing there. He's put up a 2.73 ERA, a 1 whip, 4 wins, 32 strikeouts, 32% strikeout rate, I should say. You think Michael King is main event 15-team mixed league viable all season, even without saves?
It's so hard without saves to be viable. It's not like he's a guy who
He's got 5 dubs, though.
got 5 wins. I was about to say, as long as you gotta get a ton of wins, but the 5 wins is actually pretty impressive. So maybe, it's always nice on a team to when you have like I had a week a few weeks ago on a team where it's like I had like 3 starters with matchups I wasn't afraid of.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like all of my pitchers were facing the Yankees and the Red
So
Sox
you were
and the
afraid of
Mets,
him.
and
You didn't want to
yeah,
use him.
yeah. And so to like be able to be like, okay, Kyle Gibson, you're gonna hit
Don't rub it in.
you're gonna hit my reserve list, and Michael King's gonna go in, and and I may not get a ton of innings, but maybe I sneak a win, and at least I'll bolster my ratios a little bit this week. So
Michael King's the 59th ranked pitcher this year on the Razzball Player Rater.
it's insane.
That seems quite good there. And I do think that the fact that he does have 5 wins, a sneak in save, 60 Ks in 44 and a third inning, and then the blistering ratios, I think it does keep him viable all season. And like you said, kind of that filler there when you need when you need something filled in. So
I think too
I
often
like
in those spots, what we try to do is grab like the best available to start, and that's not a bad strategy depending on your team needs, but that could also lead to you getting blown up twice. Like how many people got Gombered on 2 starts this year? The big pickup this last week
Gomber and continues.
was Yusei Kikuchi, and he got murdered in his first outing and is now on the IL. So like.
Hate me on him. I'm sorry. I'm fully out, man. Like I want him to be good. I understand why people go for Kikuchi and fall for his stuff when it's appealing, but and I don't wish injury. You guys know we don't play that sort of stuff.
No.
We're like, oh, we're glad he's injured. No, I'm just saying like that train is such a difficult one to be on because you know that it's going to derail several times, and it's
Yeah.
terrifying. So, anyway, let's go to April 1st. Talk about another closer. This is probably the closer pickup of the year. And boy, does it sting! It's Ryan Helsley. I think I was clear all off season. Whenever I got the counterpoint of like, hey, Gallegos is going to share saves. Okay, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Problem is, he ain't sharing anymore. That's the issue. I didn't think he would get overtaken by some because I didn't see Helsley rising up, and that's probably the blind spot. There was like obviously I knew he had good stuff, but he was kind of that. I mean, he hadn't done anything prior to this year. Just that standard raw reliever who had some good stuff. But I was like, Jordan Hicks, Alex Reyes, whomever else they throw there, Genesis Cabrera. That's fine. They'll take some saves from Gallegos. That's fine. He'll be the A guy. Well, Helsley comes on the scene and says, no, I'm the A guy and one of the very best relievers in baseball. So I get why Gallegos has lost the job. Totally understand. He was picked up in 27 leagues. Helsley was for a 1.01 ERA, 0.86 whip, 4 wins, 5 saves, and 37 strikeouts since being picked up in those leagues. Is he the closer pickup of the year this year? Do you think that's what we'll say in October?
Is he the closer pickup of the year?
Because that's his job now. Like Gallegos got, I think, a rest and relaxation save the other day, but it's Gallegos' job. Or I mean, Helsley's job. I appreciate because I pay him $12 a month. Jason Martinez at Roster Resource. I pay him $12 a month to keep the CL next to Gallegos' name. He just does that for me because Gallegos is not in this mix, I don't believe, unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm so unsure with the Cardinals. Like I feel like the Cardinals just do whatever they want. Like
they do whatever they want,
and they could go back to Gallegos. There could be another guy who emerges in that bullpen.
Would you cut Gallegos in main event leagues?
I don't think I would.
I still haven't, by the way.
I think he. I think he still has 9 saves on the year. And like I said, like I don't trust the Cardinals. Like I think the Cardinals easily could be like, hey, we're going to turn this into a situation where, Helsley's maybe the main guy, but he also could come in the 7th and 8th if we're in those kind of spots. They also could. They're a team that likes to add, bullpen pieces at the trade deadline. Maybe they go add a guy who is, a closer with a capital C. I would hold on to Gallegos just in case. And as much as I like Helsley, and this one hurts me for a completely different reason than it hurts you, is that I was huge on Helsley last year. I drafted him everywhere, and this year I didn't.
Way to go, dummy.
And I was the one pushing back on the idea that Gallegos was the guy, right? Like I should have easily been
never
like
said Helsley, so way to go.
but I didn't.
He was the guy until Helsley emerged. So I wasn't wrong there. Like he was absolutely the guy. But Helsley,
I mean, you were wrong. You were wrong to be taking him where you were taking him.
Disagree. Nobody called Helsley. Nobody said anything about Helsley. Not you, Mr. Helsley lover. Oh, he surprised everyone. You guys are all full of shit. But you know what?
I was just taking the field, and I should have been like, I should have looked at the field and go, there's one guy who I personally like a lot more in that field. And I should be taking dart.
That would have given you some more merit because nobody had any answers. They just said, I don't know. I don't think so. And that's the frustration that I had. If anybody had said Helsley, I would praise that person. If they had if anybody had said, you keep an eye on Ryan Helsley, I say, okay, I'll tell that person you're a G. But nobody had shit to say. And I am mad and I am wrong. I'm taking the L. I'm eating it, whatever. But like, it's one of those things where you didn't show your work. Okay. Y'all got the right answer. But with the teacher, if you're with the wrong teacher and they make you show your work, y'all still don't get the credit.
My high school and college career, was my issue, right? So
y'all didn't show your work. You didn't name any names.
Woody in the chat asking which one is winning. I'm winning the first pitch Arizona argument. This is what we're talking about right now.
Are you sure?
Woody, yeah. I am. I'm
What
for
was
sure.
it though?
It,
What
it
was
was
that?
Raciel Iglesias versus
Oh
Giovanni
wait, are you
Gallegos.
sure you're winning that?
I am winning.
Does
Absolutely.
Raisel Iglesias pitch well these days?
He's
I feel
gotten
like,
saves. He gets
he's
saves. That's all
getting
I care about.
blasted left and right.
He's getting saves.
He's got a few more saves than
Yeah. And he's going to have a lot more saves by the end of the year.
Willie though. Sweet ERA 368, really awesome for
Whatever.
stud reliever. It's pretty terrible actually. Let's be honest. Um, who is next on our list here? Tyler Wells. You actually picked up my my scraps there. I cut Tyler Wells. I wonder what he's doing between each of our teams, or what I got from him, and then cut him, and then you picked him up. But May 8th was when he was picked up quite a bit. 26 leagues, 265 ERA, 0.94 WHIP, 7 wins, but a 16% K rate. You picked him up a bit after that, as I mentioned, when you overhauled your pitching that 1 week. He's been good. The full season numbers for him are 309 ERA, 1.00 WHIP, but 50 Ks and 75 2/3. Justin, how confident have you felt putting Wells in your rotation? Are you using him pretty consistently? What's been the deal with that since you picked him up with your Tyler Wells experience?
Since I've picked him up, I have used him for 46.2 innings, and have gotten a 270 ERA and a 90.92
That's wonderful.
WHIP with 6 wins, and 31 strikeouts.
Just been using him. In fact, let me backtrack a little bit there. You picked him up on the 2.8, or on the 5.8. You were in on this bid period that we are talking about here. I was conflating our league with mine and Colin's. Colin and I picked him up and then cut him. We picked him up in April and ended up cutting him, and then bought him back in June. So move on from that. You're not picking up my scraps. You just picked him up on the 8th, and you've gotten so much goodness for Tyler Wells.
Yeah.
I mentioned the underlying skills, the lack of dominance. He's on a 5-win streak, by the way. It's won his last 5 starts. What do you expect from Tyler Wells going forward? Can he maintain? Can he be a not a set it and forget it? I know you're going to check every week to make sure that you like the matchup, but can he remain somebody that you start pretty consistently the rest of the years with Tyler Wells in Baltimore?
I mean, I think he's a guy that I'm just going to curate. I'm riding the streak right now because, I mean, at this point, like, he has been nothing but goodness for me and on my team, but he's always that guy in the back of my mind that I go, I'm going to cut him at some point. I just don't know when. He gives up a lot of fly balls and a lot of contact. He has been absolutely saved by the new dimensions of Camden.
The dumbest phrase I thought we would ever say is this fly ball guy is being saved by Camden. But that is the world that we live in right now. You are 100% right with that, with Tyler Wells and his brethren. Like Dean Kramer is starting to garner some attention. He's another Tyler Wells. Like, they are a spitting image of each other statistically.
And he's another guy that I think will get cut in leagues at some point because there's just no way he can keep up what he's doing either. But you have to kind of just ride it for right now and go, okay,
Stats are there, man.
Like, I didn't start Wells for, I think, a Yankees game. Like, he went out and shoved anyways. Like, it just, like, the I think 2 starts I didn't start him for, he got like a total of 11 innings, and they gave up like
the
one
Yankees and Boston one.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Two earned runs, both at the Yankees. He had Yankees Boston back to back on May 25th, May 30th. Tyler Wells did, and he's been excellent. He was excellent at both.
Yeah, and it's a bummer for me that I didn't start him, but like, these are the kind of guys that you look back at the end of the year, and I mean, they're not going to be the reason I win this league if I do win this league, but he's definitely going to be a huge. It's been a huge part of it. I mean, even like guy like Madison Bumgarner's was on this team for a long time. Like, the overall numbers aren't amazing like they are for Wells, but like, he's just been a glue guy as my SP 6 or 7. Like, these are the guys that are awesome.
You remade your pitching that week, and Tyler Wells has been the big pickup there.
I did the same thing in this last week. I mean, I dropped like 4 pitchers. This last fab period, but Wells is still on the
team. Wells gets the stick, man. You dropped Heasley, Zach Davies, Josh Winder, and Jack Flaherty. Yeah, you dropped 4 guys. Another big turnover period for you. And but yeah, Tyler Wells has been excellent. That same week, you could have continued to do your revamp there. May 8th, you could have also picked up Martin Perez. Actually, I don't know if he was available in our league anymore at that point, but that was the big pickup week that people finally started buying in about a month plus, actually almost exactly a month, right? The month started the season started April 7th. So it was about a month in that people finally said, okay, I'll try this Martin Perez thing. I'll hold my nose and terrifyingly put him on the roster. And Justin, they have not been disappointed. 238 ERA, 122 whip, 7 wins, and a 20% K rate for the 24 leagues that picked up Martin Perez on May 8th. His full season is 234, 117 with the 7 wins as well. He got all 7 wins. He's just been incredible. Started to have a little bit of regression recently, which is expected. There's obviously a lot more coming. But is Martin Perez somebody that's going to be on rosters across the main event in September?
I think he will be. I mean, this is another one of these guys that you just kind of keep riding. Now, the last 2 starts have gotten a little bit more bumpy. Maybe we're
those
starting
aren't
to see.
they're not even terrible, by the way. I'm
No,
actually a
they're
little
fine.
regression, but like it's like a 4.97 ERA in the 2 starts, 6 innings, 4 runs, 6 2/3, 3 runs. Like especially against the Mets, 6 2/3, 3 runs. You feel good about that for Martin.
I'll take that. That's fine.
Yeah,
You know,
all day.
the Kansas City one's a little disappointing, especially being at Kansas City. But
exactly.
I mean, this is
Perez.
Yeah, and this is a guy who's gonna get moved at the deadline, like for sure. Like he is a free agent at the end of the year. So I'll be interested to see where he goes. And one of the problems with pitchers, especially pitchers who don't have like amazing skills that are being moved at the deadline, is outside of San Francisco, like what's the good park that you're potentially being traded to? You're not. You're being traded to, or I guess Citi Field too.
But likely being traded somewhere.
Yeah, like there's a lot more bad stadiums for pitching than there are good stadiums on the contenders. So, I mean, outside of St. Louis, the Mets and Giants,
be good, and they could use him. I think actually St. Louis would be a perfect. That's a perfect Cardinals pickup.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a ton of teams that could use a lefty for sure. So, I mean, Minnesota could use a lefty. Philadelphia could use a lefty. So, I mean. He may be one of the biggest or most sought after guys that could also blow up in everybody's face.
Philly is the last place you want Martin Perez to go.
Yes, if he goes to Philly, he's going to be on high alert. Because I think he's got to be on high alert. I mean, as much as I love Martin Perez and I love what he's been doing this season, and he finally has given up a few home runs. Like there's so much blow up potential. Like this could all go. The end could already be here, and we just don't know it. But he gave up his first multi-homer game in his last start, and home runs are the things that you've got to be worried with a guy like him. So, just be very, very careful rest of the way, and no, like if we see another 2 or 3, homer like start, like be ready to just cut. Like don't, like just I'm totally fine moving on.
No, I totally understand that. Nicholas Gout did a really interesting piece on Martin Perez called "Earning and Martin Perez Experience." Like he is doing things to push his success here, but he's not earning all of it, and a lot of it is driven by the 0.4 homer 9 and 4% homer to fly ball rate, and those are going to go up. Even I know he's added the ground balls and all that. It's going to go up. It's going to go up for Martin Perez. So we'll see what happens if he survives the year and you still ended up using him, or if he ends up being a full-on cut at some point. George Kirby was picked up the next week in 46 leagues. I guess he was drafted in 1 because he wouldn't have been not picked up in that league. 4.34 ERA, 122 whip, 2 wins, 24% K rate. George Kirby been like a little bit disappointing. Like that's not awful. You're not mad about that, but it hasn't really. I mean, that's not moving the needle that much since his pickup. How do you feel about George Kirby? Now his full season is a 3.75 ERA, 115 whip. So a little bit of his good stuff was lost because those first 2 starts happened when he wasn't available. the 7 earned against Baltimore in his 2 starts ago is doing a lot of this work here because he doesn't have that many starts. He bounced back brilliantly with 7 innings, a 1-run ball, 9 strikeouts against Oakland. So again, Kirby rather. Has he been disappointing? And if you think he's been disappointing, do you think it improves in the second half?
I don't know that he's been disappointing. I mean, you kind of take out that Baltimore start, things look a lot more glowing. Obviously, you can't do that because everybody started in there.
Of course, yeah, you ate it, but you can at least get some color of like, okay.
Sometimes you just don't have your command, and that game was like, hey, I do not have my command.
Yep.
4 homers, and he just wore it, and that happens. I don't necessarily think he has been super disappointing. I love the Arsenal, and I think he's going to be very successful the rest of the way. I think he's going to be a guy that, stays on teams the rest of the way, is, maybe isn't like a star. Like, I don't think he's a guy that's going to like we're going to be looking at, hey, he's an SP2 next year or anything like that. But I think he's going to be a very valuable piece of like the middle of your rotation. And that's totally fine, especially because you got him off the wire.
Jeffrey Springs came out of nowhere and has to be proud of his line. Picked up in 35 leagues on May 15th, 298 ERA, 118 whip, 2 wins, 29% K rate. Looks like the latest useful starter for this team. Has been falling on a little bit of a hard time lately. His last 3 starts, 6.28 ERA, 4 runs, 3 runs, and 3 runs. 2 of those being fewer than 5 innings, which is the bigger issue there for Springs. I guess that's my main question. What kind of innings count does he get the rest of the year?
He's one of those guys that initially I was all like, I don't know, the innings might be a real issue for him, especially with Patino and Rasmussen coming back. But I think there are going to be games where they just decide, hey, you're only going to see this many pitches, and do what you can with it. And that might mean 6 innings. I mean, that might mean, but that also might mean 4 on any given day. But I think it was you that pointed out to me, like, he's not like one of these arms they need to protect. Like, he's not like a future part of, or he's not like a future stone.
No, he's 29-year-old journeyman. Like, he's not a building block for them.
If they blow out his arm, they blow out his arm. Like, just,
you're not trying to hurt anybody, but
he's the kind of guy they need to lean on to protect the other guys.
Correct. So, and if he can give innings and he can go above, go a big number above what he's been doing for Jeffrey Springs, I think you let him. He's got the 3 pitches. I think he can hang, as a 3-pitch guy and kind of turn over that lineup, get a consistent 5 innings. I don't know that he's going to have a hard, crazy cap. I mean, he's already 20 innings over what he did last year in the majors at 64 innings, but I think he can do like another 64 or so kind of innings the rest of the year.
I think he's going to pitch as long as he's effective. Like, this is a team that is going to be in a dogfight for the playoffs. And if he's effective, they're just going to say, keep going. If he's not, then he either goes back to the bullpen or goes down to the minor leagues. And, you'll at least know what's happening.
Speed round for these last 6 here. Yep. 3 guys picked up on May 22nd. Johnny Cueto in 46 leagues, Justin Steele in 35, Brady Singer in 27. Cueto has been the best of the 3 by a pretty big margin. Singer's been the worst. He started to fall apart. Had one really bad Houston start there that's doing a lot of work too. Justin Steele been kind of in the middle. Who's your favorite, Cueto, Steele, or Singer the rest of the year?
It's got to be Cueto.
This is got to be, dude. I'm so happy Cueto. With it. Well.
It's not going to continue. I mean, he's got a 440 FIP, before 52. It's probably going to be like a 440 type ERA the rest of the way. But you just got a lot. I mean, there are very few players in baseball that are more likable than Johnny Cueto.
Agreed.
And he just goes out there, does his thing. And who knows? Maybe he does keep it up long enough. You got him for like $1 probably in Fab.
Not paying a lot there. He gets Detroit this weekend too to keep it going.
And that's the thing, he gets some bottom feeder teams in that division, like
he's in the right division.
Even the good teams in that division, like their offenses don't scare you that much. So
exactly. So you feel pretty good about that. Steele continues to show some things here and there, but he's inconsistent and scares me. I do like Singer second best there.
there's so many teams in the National League too that murder lefties, like
Yes.
absolutely murder
And
lefties.
that puts Steele in grave danger there. Our boy Ross Stripling, June 5th, 41 leagues picked him up. 237 ERA, .96 whip, 3 wins, but only 17% K rate. Is Stripling a trustable guy rest of the year, or does Toronto fill that spot and get him back in the bullpen?
Um, I mean, they're gonna fill a spot, but I think that spot needs to be Kikuchi's spot, right? I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't
um,
necessarily. Yeah, because they're down one right now. You mentioned Kikuchi on the IL with a strained neck. They could get a guy and keep Stripling in there too.
yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they filled multiple spots, though. So I mean, there is a chance that he goes back into a bullpen role, but I think he's earned the ability to try to start, and if Toronto decides that, hey, maybe we're going to go get a starter and a bullpen piece instead, to bolster that bullpen, then that would be a really good sign that they're sticking with him rest of the way. So, I mean, I think you just got to ride with it for right now. He's been really, really good. Yeah, I hope they give him a chance. I mean, you and I have loved Stripling for a
Yeah,
long
we're
time.
huge
So
fans. I hope they just let him go. He's pitching well. Let him do his thing. Last one. So Anthony Dominguez was picked up on June 5th as well in 37 leagues, 174 ERA, .39 whip right now, 3 saves, 2 wins, 40% K rate. Is he the closer the rest of the year? Or do they go get somebody and keep Dominguez as a fireman?
Oh, this is hard because I don't know what I think the Phillies want to be contenders.
Yeah, they certainly don't want to fold. Like, I mean, obviously,
uh,
44 and 39, they lost Harper, but hey, their league mates or their division mates lost Acuna last year and won the World Series. They have to be looking at that saying we don't have any excuses. I know
but
it's not a 1-to-1, but you have to just pick up and move on. You can't cry about it and wallow in that, right? Like,
like,
we lost Bryce. Like, yeah, you did. Pick up and move on.
and Hall's been fine, right? He's
Yeah,
at
you've barely been feeling it with
290 with
Derek Hall.
290. He
He'll
does
come
not
back
have a
down, by the way.
yeah, he will. And I wrote that last night in the Roto write up because I mean he is yet to have a walk and he's striking out almost 40% of the time. So um yeah, I don't know that this is a team that like David Robertson would look really good on, right?
Yeah,
Like this
going
is a
back
team.
to, right? Like they
I
have
think
history with him.
I definitely think that this is a team that could go and get a closer with a capital C at the deadline. If they don't, and even if they do, like I think Dominguez still factors in. Like he's been a really, really good pickup. And he was the guy I was thinking of when you asked if Helsley's going to end up being the closer pickup of the year. I think Dominguez could be that guy. If he's able to hold down that role, they don't go out and get someone else. Uh, I mean, I think you just got to hold and pray for the best. But this is definitely a situation where he could easily get supplanted by a team, Jorge Lopez coming in, a David Robertson coming in, that kind of move.
Yeah, I think you just hang on and see what they do. But
it's because it's Dombrowski,
yeah,
they're gonna make moves to
they're
improve
going to
this
be
team.
adding. Yeah,
Like they could add 2 relievers to this team
totally
for
agree.
sure.
Totally agree. A righty and lefty, and they still have Hand lingering there, who has been a capital C closer, and it wouldn't even be a knock on Dominguez. We talked about it a million times every year. Some teams want their best reliever in the fireman's role, and they will take a lesser guy in the closer's role because they're giving him a 3-run lead more often than not. So they might trust him, but they're going to get guys too. So you might not have yourself a closer there with Dominguez. Just hang on and see what's what, though. Don't make any preemptive moves and try to assume what they're going to do. So a mixed bag, but a lot of decent pickups out there. The problem is that lately getting the pitching has been tough. Have you noticed that in the last, I'd say month plus, hitting has been much better? Like I scraped for some extra pitchers for this for this list here, whereas I kept extra hitters off. I had a cutting room floor for the hitters I could have included here. I feel like it's been a tougher pitching landscape this year. I don't know. We got to get going, but I feel like that's been the landscape this year. Do you agree?
There's been a lot of injuries. Like injuries have really crushed people. I was talking to some guys in a dynasty league that I'm in, and And one of those guys like, I got 8 pitchers on my IL right now.
Oh my goodness.
Like he's just, and it's like, yeah, that sounds about right. Just
Yep.
and one of the reasons why this last week I went, our main event is a dogfight, right? Like, it was a 3-horse race between me and Scott Jensen and Zimmerman and Tanner Bell. But now a 4th team has entered that mix, and
and
teams
5th,
like yours
6th,
and Go
7th, and 8th are right there too.
Yeah,
and I think I'm still I still feel like I'm in the mix. I know I'm in 10th, but I don't feel out of it at all.
I just jettisoned off like a bunch of injured guys. Like I wasn't willing to wait on Jack Flaherty anymore,
Yep.
And I'm just kind of cycling because there's just not a ton out there. Like we go to the waiver wire every week, and for Fab, and we look, and like the options to stream a pitcher are not good.
It's bad. I mean, Chris Archer was the biggest pickup in our league last week. Jake Odorizzi coming back. We saw how that went. Michael Pineda. Like, I mean, you see where it's at. I wonder if maybe the minors will bring some new pitchers in the second half. Oh, I just saw that. I didn't see this last Sunday that Freddie Peralta got picked up. Somebody trying to stash him. We'll see how long they can hold.
It's just so hard to stash these guys.
I know. I love watching when people pick up a stash and then they end up cutting him 2 weeks down the road. Like, dang, I tried to hold, which I don't blame them, right? I've tried that too, where I'm like, I'll see if I can hold this because I have a spot right now. But the second that I need a spot, I will cower and cut this guy. And they only paid, let's see, $11. So even if they have to cut Peralta, it's fine.
And I might stash someone over the trade deadline or something like that.
Yeah,
like
if you can afford it, right? If you've got 6
or not trade deadline, over the All-Star break, like you got those like that half week All-Star break where you can just be like, take a dart throw, right? Because there'll be guys that come back right after the All-Star break that you got like that may be like really, really important. So but it's always so hard to tell who's coming back, who's not.
Absolutely. Well, Justin, it was great talking with you again on the pod. Glad you're healthy and got the fam back on track. We are entering the All-Star break soon. Not yet. Not next week. It's the week after that. So we're still going. I'll talk to you on Monday. You guys do anything on Sunday?
I hope so. I haven't talked to Jason. I apologize to anybody who like was missing the road write up or missing
No, you were under the weather, man. Don't you
COVID took a toll out on me in the fam. But back now and gonna grind. We need to do a watch party.
You can do a watch party for sure. I also said Monday and I meant Tuesday, obviously. So but yeah, we will definitely talk then. All right. Talk to you next week. Have a good one.
Take it easy.